continents examining hadith.
Okay.
Okay, and he went there on fucking what? JetBlue?
This nigga's a hater.
JetBlue.
The fuck are you talking? Like, listen, these stories don't make any goddamn sense.
To be a hadith scholar, Leandre?
The word.
Do you know what it takes to be a muhaddith? Speak to it, please.
Yeah. So here's what it takes: a bullshit imagination.
Exactly, nigga. You don't know.
And like I said, so here's how these sides. They have a chain of narration called an isnad, right? A chain of narration called an isnad. Right? That basically
y'all got a disconnected isnad. You don't have an isnad. Nigga,
they have a chain of narration called an isnad, right? Which is supposed to tell. And it works exactly.
The Bible niggas would love to have a true isnad.
It works exactly the way the game of telephone works.
That motherfucking Bible is a
exactly the way it works.
Yeah, okay.
So it works exactly this way.
So
they say,
about a muhaddith. What does a muhaddith have to
I'm in the middle of trying to explain the first thing you asked.
Please.
I'm in the middle of trying to explain the first fucking thing you asked. So
you poisoning the well.
What was stated? There's no poison in the well, you stupid ass.
That is pertinent to what
there's no fucking poison in the well. So anyway.
I know.
So
I know you don't know what the fuck you talking about.
So anyway, it works exactly like the game of telephone.
They say fag, nigga. You a fucking diva, nigga.
Yeah, that's
tell the people what a muhaddith is and what it takes to become a muhaddith.
You won't shut up and let me answer any of these fucking questions. You won't let me answer any fucking questions because you have impulse control issues. You probably can't control your bladder either.
You don't know to say you don't know.
Anyway,
your pride in a way.
So I want you to imagine. They said, "Hey, this person right here heard from the Prophet Muhammad. He was there when this happened, and then what happened after that is." He told this person, and he told this person, and then this person heard it from this person, and that person heard it from that person, and then that continues to multiply over the course of about 200 years when it was finally written down. And they basically say, we look at that chain for who told who, and who told who, and who told who, and we know that the Prophet Muhammad said this. That's what the fuck. That's what the fucking isnad is. That's what the chain of narration is. And so then that's exactly
not a definition of the isnad. That's not an explanation of the isnad.
You're a goddamn lie.
Anybody
can Google it. Anybody can Google this shit. It is a chain of narration. It's gonna pass back through history for 200 fucking years. From when the shit was written down, and shit was passed all the way back to the person who heard it right there. And y'all say, oh, well, the Muslims, they were an oral people. And so everybody remembered what the person said. And so we can trust because they were an oral culture. They didn't write anything down. But they just passed the shit back.
Prophet and you can't, nigga?
Why would I want to connect to your pedo fucking prophet?
Are you jealous?
What would be my incentive for connecting to your pedo prophet?
Are you jealous? Now his hate is coming out. Because he's not a fucking intellectual.
Your prophet.
Hey, listen. That's why this.
According to your hadith, your prophet was taken in the middle of the fucking desert and fucked in his ass by a bunch of large penis black men.
They gonna laugh this nigga out the room. That's why he on Facebook doing this shit and not in the academic circle.
Yes. Except for what I'm pointing out right now, honey. You let me say this. You let me say this. He's calling me a fag, and his prophet, according to his Islamic sources.
Did y'all see the video of this faggot ass nigga with the rose?
According to his prophet,
this nigga's a fag.
According to his sources. His prophet was taken in the middle of the desert and fucked in his ass by a group of large penis black men. And no, I'm not lying. The Al Zook took his prophet into the middle of the fucking thing, and he walked funny for days after.
Yo, Leon, wait, time out, man. Now we're not.
I'm not joking,
gentlemen.
Watch this. Look at Leandre.
Can we set up a debate?
Yeah, we set up a debate. And tell him I want to debate on the men who went in his prophet's ass.
Talking about. Look at
pick a topic. Wait, though, Salim, for real. I think y'all should go ahead. I think y'all should do this. Pick a topic, man.
Who went in your prophet's ass? Why were those men in your prophet's ass?
He can't sit with me in Islam. He knows.
Who were the Al-Zut that were in your prophet's asshole?
That don't know better.
Why did they wreck his asshole and have him walking funny for days after?
Why would they do that?
Why did he draw a circle around his homeboy and tell him to stand and watch? Why did your prophet tell his homeboy to watch it?
In the video, got a banana.
It's in your sources. Who were they in your? Why were they in your prophet's ass?
Okay, can we go back to the part where you asked Leandre?
This nigga got a banana in his hand. Leandre all up under this nigga with his chest out and shit, biting his lip like a fucking gump. Nigga, you a fag.
Somebody's chest.
You think you slick, nigga? I know you a faggot in real time, nigga. That's why you arrogant as fucking like a parade around like a peacock, nigga, because you was a bitch. Look at that video
and
tell me that nigga ain't a faggot. You got one nigga holding a banana, irrelevant as fuck.
Disconnected.
You got another nigga with his chest out, biting his motherfucking lip, sitting up under a nigga with a banana in his hand.
Is this worse than meeting a bunch of large penis black men in the middle of the desert and having them take turns? And it says they rode the prophet all night long.
10 million.
What does it mean to ride the prophet all night long? In Arabic. What does that mean?
Pause. It means pause.
Yeah. Hey, Pat.
Wait.
Pat. In Arabic. Hey, Pat. Do you know that was a euphemism in Arabic? You know that was a euphemism in Arabic for fucking a man?
What word?
Oh yes, because the story of the Al Zut, it says that these large penis black men rode the prophet all night long. You know that's a euphemism for sex?
Riding or something? Yeah, sure.
Yes, exactly. So these large penis black men, they met the prophet in the desert and they rode him all night long. There was a group of them.
Clowned this goofy ass nigga. The light-skinned niggas down 1 million thanks to Leandre. This nigga under this nigga with a banana in his hand, biting his fucking lip, trying to look sexy. Get the fuck off my block, nigga. Fuck you talking about?
Slim, you ain't even on your block.
Ass nigga, you was a bitch. Nigga, neighborhood Christian. Fuck out of here. You a goofy, nigga.
On hood. Hey,
goofy, nigga. You are.
Hey, y'all hold can't get right here. I'll be right back. I got another call. I'll be right back.
No, get your bitch
let him get it off his chest. I'll be right back.
Fuck you talking about, faggot ass nigga. Don't let this nigga get on here and try to shit on the ding to people that don't know no better. That nigga don't know Islam, and he's a fucking liar and a faggot. Nigga act like this nigga need to be on Bad Girls Club. That's how the fuck he act. That nigga's a bitch. Look at that motherfucking video.
You should have walked it out with him.
Fuck that, bro. I ain't walking shit out with Leandre because he already know. He in here trying to poison the well, trying to inform niggas about some shit he don't fucking know. That's why I asked him, what's up with Hadith? Very pertinent to what the fuck this clown talking about, and he don't even know.
What is
our motherfucking Hadith sciences is more thorough than anything they got in Christianity, nigga.
What you call it, a Mahadith?
That's facts.
What you call it, a
scholar of Hadith, bro. It's a scholar of Hadith.
Okay.
It's a whole fucking science to it. Nigga, and the Bible won't crumble under that shit. We can ask chat right now. How would the Bible fare in the Hadith science? Critique.
What you mean?
It's gonna fall in either fabricated, disconnected, or weak, based on the criteria of the Hadith sciences. And ask AI that shit. This nigga jealous because we literally could tie our teachers back to the prophet. We tie these niggas teachers back to the Romans, to the authorized slavery and shit. These niggas will tell you Islam the reason for slavery, but you got the Pope issuing a papal bull for slavery on America.
Are you trying to say that Arabs weren't enslaving people first?
Hey, Tiff, did you hear that just happened? Did you hear it happen? That nigga said the Pope. That nigga, boy.
The Pope stamped it.
You know that Arab slave trade went on for like 1,000 years, right?
Yeah, this nigga's paper bull was like 1492 or some shit. This nigga's on drugs.
I'm definitely not on drugs, nigga.
Oh,
y'all
yeah,
book
right.
even tell y'all to obey y'all earthly masters. Nigga, Islam,
this nigga still going. Hey, Tiff, get his ass.
No, but like the trans-Saharan slave trade, right? And then like the East African slave trade, and you know who was like running those, right?
Mm-hmm. The Arabs. What's wrong? What's up?
And while they were doing it, they were converting people to Islam.
Islam, the Arab slave trade was going on before Islam.
What?
Islam is the first religion to actually come and abolish slavery.
No, you had to become a Muslim so that you didn't become a slave.
Okay, y'all trolls. It's cool.
No, go back a second.
I don't get into that corny shit.
Go back.
I don't do it for shits and giggles.
No, Sling, go back a second. You
said
and
on cloud chase, nigga. Keep it at the
son. On some real shit though. Son. You gonna have to start answering the questions, bro. You gonna have my bro. Listen real quick. You hear me?
We're just having a conversation.
You gonna have to start answering the question. All this insulting shit is unnecessary. Answer the question.
Why you ain't say that to Leandre?
Leandre is a troll, but Tiffany ain't on troll shit, fam. She asking you a genuine question. She asking you a genuine question.
Bro, listen,
so answer the fucking question and relax.
You can't check me, cuz.
Answer the question and relax.
You can't check me, cuz.
You've been checked.
By who?
Me, and you only gonna be in here a few minutes longer if you keep fucking around. Now answer the question. Answer the question. Answer the question or shut the fuck up. Do that. Answer the question or shut the fuck up. How's that?
You gonna get that nigga Leandre a pass and try to
Yo, Tiff, ask him the question again. Ask him the question again and see if he answers it. We'll see.
You gonna try to check me and ain't say shit.
You gonna answer the question or you gonna shut the fuck up? Is what's happening.
You could never, nigga, shut me up.
You gonna answer. You all outside your Islam right now talking about suck your dick. Listen, you gonna answer the question or you gonna shut the fuck up? Is what's happening. I bet you that's what happened. I bet you that's what happened. I bet you that's what happened.
Get off Leandre dick. You ain't had shit.
No, I was talking about. No, I want you to answer Tiffany's question. I want you to answer Tiffany's question. I want you to answer Tiffany's question.
Fuck that, nigga. Y'all hypocrites.
Why are we hypocrites? I just joined the conversation and I asked you a question and then you was like that somebody clout chasing or something off of you. I'm confused. Like, I don't understand.
Like you can't. You was invited here to talk and have conversation. You ain't got it.
So, like, Celine, Tiffany is not a Bible believer. She's not like that. She's into history. So
you don't even like me.
About the history of slavery and stuff like that. That's when she comes in because that's what she's doing, history. So she's thinking like, wait, they had it first. So if by your knowledge you're saying, hey, that was before Islam, you know what I'm saying? Now it's like, okay, well, when was Islam? Like, when is that? Because her big thing is history. It's not the whole religion thing. So that's we was like, okay, if it's before Islam, well, when was that? Like, because that's the first time I've ever heard that. I've heard when it was the Arab slave trade, the whole thing they was doing was spreading Islam. So if it was before that, like, then what part are you talking about?
You a lame nigga, and y'all follow lanes, nigga. You laughing at shit.
What? Because we're asking you a question about history?
You think like atheists and non-Christians are following me?
Yo.
And then he ran. God damn it, man. God damn it, man.
No, he mad because I muted his ass so he could shut the fuck up like I told him to.
No. He just jumped off the call.
No. Chill, Leandre. He mad because I muted him.
Because Pam muted him.
And I just unmuted him so he could start speaking again when I gave him fucking permission. The fuck you talking about? You answer the question when I tell you shit.
Fuck is he talking about, nigga?
Yes, nigga.
Hello, Pan. Yeah.
And he told him he was about to leave in a second.
He said you all out of your. He said you all out of your Muslim shit right now. Talking about something.
Islam in that. Well, where the Islam in that? Goofy bastard.
Hey.
In the back, did ask Meta about the science and could the Bible, stand up to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it said no, right? So, like, but you can't even get to that point of trying to talk about what that said because you're too busy in here being emotional. I blame Leandre.
Me too.
I think Theo one tried to put this together.
Hell no, don't put that on me. You use that psychology. I knew you was doing it.
Leandre, as soon as I pressed record, y'all had 2 seconds and then you start talking about his prophet.
Y'all set him up. Honey was in on it too.
I believe y'all had us out there. I said it ain't gonna work. That nigga Salim cannot ever, and I mean ever remain. He cannot do it, and so his thing to do it, he just gets angry.
You want some real shit?
So that's how like y'all conversations normally go over there.
100%. Every time. Salim is no, not all of us. No, not all of us. But I'm telling you, without question, nobody can ever have a conversation with Salim. So like, there'll be times like where Salim, I think it's 2 or 3 times in the I don't know, over a year, like 2 years shit that I've been trying to converse with the dude, right? Where he may get into a mode of he'll start asking questions, but then he'll tell you, and I'm not saying this flippantly or to be disrespectful, he'll tell you, hey, I have trouble comprehending, it takes me more time or whatever, right? And so, and so if you start going through and trying to walk through with him like that, but that's been 2 or 3 times that I'm aware of. Most of the other times, if you start having conversations, he can't really keep up with what you're saying. So he'll come off his mic, go scream and yell and cuss. conversations with him, 95% of the time go just like that. Other people, you can have longer conversations, debates, niggas can sit there and listen and go on mute. We may get into some nigga shit, but like, if you're capable of doing it. Salim, hell no. Don't talk to that nigga about Islam at all. That's the shit he gonna do. I swear to God, he gonna do it.
Yo, son, ever since I met that nigga, you right. Everything you just said is correct. And like ever since he been in here, it's like, nigga, we brought you in here on some building shit. You supposed to know specific shit. All right. But now when you in some combative shit where it's back and forth and niggas don't supposedly not know they shit, well, prove it then. Instead of just calling people names and shit, that means you don't know it neither, nigga. If you're not showing it, shut the fuck up. When anybody trying to hear you, nigga, who the fuck are you if you're not showing what you believe or what you're supposed to know? Yeah. Fuck out of here.
That's also why I think that it'd be better with Iran. He's a cool, he's a cool Muslim. He's fun.
Somebody ring his phone and bring him back.
Like, no,
I think somebody just tried it and said he didn't.
I just tried. I was trying.
Yeah, but sleep. He can't have an Islam conversation. He can't.
A lot of like Muslims can't. They like you say something about Muhammad, they want to kill you.
Well, I know, right? Which is why it's an interesting thing. Like when I talked about this is gonna be a funny thing, right? Because if you love history, right? So you start look at. And matter of fact, I'm gonna send you a book. I'm gonna send you the book. Just look into it. Look at the earliest Muslim beliefs about certain things, and then you're gonna be like, damn, like the beliefs they have today on this shit is like a total 180 from what the earliest ones believed, and we know it. Look how widespread the shit is. But so like modern Muslims today would kill you over saying shit that the earliest Muslims believed. They fucking take your head off. And this is why I keep pointing out, Islam is without a shadow of a doubt a low IQ religion. It fucking is. You can Google this shit right now. It is a low IQ religion. The majority of adherents are low IQ people, and they typically cannot have this level of fucking conversation. They go scream, yell, cuss, do all that shit off the dribble. The vast majority of them, they not going to be able to do this. Them motherfuckers go right to jihad immediately when it cuts fucking head off.
Didn't they worship like 300 gods before?
Yeah. So that's one of the statements about according to the Islamic accounts about early Mecca and Medina, about early fucking Arabia, that there was 300 gods that ever worshipped or whatever, and then Muhammad came and corrected that shit. In reality, though, like what historians understand about that shit now is that shit is overstated about what Muhammad came and corrected and put together. And they know that now. Is a scholar, and they hate this motherfucker, but there's a scholar who examines a lot of the early Islamic inscriptions, and you see like it really wasn't like they stated. You actually had a very large community of like Christians and Jews who would have been across Arabia. There's fucking inscriptions everywhere. They had councils and shit like that. They were there. The Islamic case is overstated because majority of this shit that's stated about what early Mecca Medina was like comes from accounts 200 fucking years afterward, like at the earliest, over 1,000 miles away. And so you're getting a lot of these stories that don't make any fucking sense. So like, just like they're going to tell you that Mecca was this large fucking trade center, right? That if I was asked Tiffany, she would think it's fucking strange that if you have this large trade center that everyone goes to, why don't any of the fucking major empires, why don't any of the other people around, why don't they know of fucking Mecca? There's no any ancient maps. There's other places in Arabia that people that they went to, they trade, they do all kinds of shit, but not Mecca, not Medina, certainly not Mecca. They don't even have a fucking water source there. The nearest water source is right there, is fucking salt water, and so no one's drinking that shit. And so Mecca was archaeologically was populated by maybe a couple hundred people, up to so at the fucking time of the Prophet. The stories about afterward tell you about these tens of thousands of people that was there to trade. All this. That's because none of the fucking stories are from anybody who knew anything about it.
But and then didn't they pray towards Jerusalem at first?
Yeah. No. So they prayed towards lots of the early. So you had praying toward Petra, and in Jerusalem, and now fucking Mecca. So you had this transition over time, right? That as Mike could tell you, so you had the Muslims beefing with each other during what's called like the Ridda Wars. They're beefing over all kinds of shit. And this is where you start to get a lot of these hadith and shit popping up. You have all of these competing Muslim groups writing competing traditions about Muhammad, and each one has a tradition that seems to favor their fucking side. No, Muhammad really said this about this particular topic. And so shit like that starts to change. You say, wait, where were y'all praying first? Okay, well, how were y'all doing this shit before? So yeah, this is why I pointed out, like, from a historical perspective, the fucking hadith, especially in comparison to the other earlier Islamic sources, well, they're not, you don't really want to fucking read those. Like, it's 200 miles away. Like, the dude who supposedly compiled this shit, way the fuck somewhere else, like fucking Iraq or something, right? Or Iran is where this shit gets compiled. The hadith, where the shit comes together. And he supposedly examined 600,000 hadith over the course of some years, which would mean that all he did was eat, sleep, and shit hadith. He didn't sleep. He had no time to travel, nothing.
What this bitch ass nigga? Is Joshua in here?
No, he had just left. He said he had just left, bro.
He looking for that nigga. He gonna room the room. Yo.
Anyway, listen. Islam don't make no goddamn sense.
That 360 thing you said that y'all was talking about, I did. I read something a while ago that it wasn't actually 360, but they was just talking about how they had them all the way around it. I remember I asked Rashid that. He shut me down with that, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, you start. If y'all ever interested, there's a couple real dope scholars, like PhDs and shit, who studied early Islam and pre-Islamic Arabia. They got some real dope shit, a bunch of dope papers, a bunch of dope books, a bunch of YouTube lectures and shit, like from academics. And yeah, and you won't be able to listen to a Muslim talk about shit after that. Fantasy. Hey! Oh, look, he got his head to protect him from falling.
What happened?
I was saying you got your helmet on. You know y'all retarded. Y'all be having to wear them helmets so y'all don't fall and shit.
I'm getting that money, goofy ass nigga.
I know you is Social Security, baby.
Crane operator, little nigga.
Boy, they let your ass operate heavy equipment.
You jealous, baby? This nigga jealous.
You a flagger. You ain't no goddamn crane.
You ain't. Nigga, I'm in the crane right now.
You a flagger, bro.
What you talking? I'm a flagger. I'll start this bitch up right now.
Bro, you a flagger.
Fuck you talking about, nigga. Quit hating.
They know you got TBI?
Quit hating on the young nigga, man.
CET? HIV?
Quit hating on the young nigga, man. It ain't gonna get you nowhere, OG. Well, you younger than me.
Why the fuck would I hate on a manual laborer? I want you to imagine that.
You jealous.
I would hate on a manual laborer, buddy.
I ran it up in
like me being jealous of Courtney.
I ran it up in the legal world, nigga. Bitch ass nigga, catch up.
Oh, you gotta take it.
Catch up, mustard. Fuck you talking about hating ass nigga. Quit lying to these people about Islam, nigga. Go debate
He's not
that
even
shit.
a Kendrick fan.
Go debate
it. Can somebody ask Tiffany question again? I'm going back on mute.
He left again.
God dang it, Leandre.
Because he gets Social Security, it's my fault? That's crazy. So Tiff, so the Muslims wasn't enslaving people before the paper bulls and shit in Africa?
Somebody write it in the back chat since that's where you like to be at.
No, fuck that, y'all. We have to go look at that goddamn picture.
Let me
Headquarters.
Let me see. Oh shit. Is that just shoes work or what?
I think so.
I would expect nothing less.
That's what I'm looking for.
Hey man. Hey yo. I love the back chat world, boy.
Oh my God, that's really a picture of him he got from a video.
That's what I'm saying. It must be because like that ain't AI. That's why I feel like.
Oh, why they put that rainbow around that man?
Yeah, this morning when I was fucking scrolling, you know how you be scrolling and like the video be playing like at a certain point, but when I clicked on it, it was at the point where right when he was getting ready to take off the boots he had on. And he had his leg lifted up like that, flexing his foot.
What the fuck is understanding?
And I didn't have the audio on, so I was just like, what the fuck is he doing? And I just kept on scrolling, like, okay.
Hey, Pam, shout out. Hey, that nigga Pam brought out the deep, stern voice on the nigga, boy.
Right.
Don't be playing with my chest. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm sorry, with your what?
You ain't go
wait.
here. I was like,
wait.
oh, we're about to have to
wait.
come out.
Wait. Rewind that. We're playing with your what?
Hey, Tip. The fuck?
Right.
What you mean, John?
I'd like to reestablish that any ladies in the bar, they belong to Leandre.
Do you know what?
Excluding the.
Get the fuck out of here.
You don't have a tip.
Listen, as long as you say that shit respectfully about the squadron, we cool.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Shay, you get to laughing over there with anybody playing with you.
Y'all motherfuckers is crazy.
I just did that right there was just getting on my nerves. Like, cause I mean, at some point, it's like, all right, bro, niggas is really just asking you a question.
That's
like this.
Leandre came in like, get him, Tim.
Cause Tiff heard some bullshit. Like, wait a minute. There wasn't no Arabs enslaving niggas. Like, what are you talking about?
I was waiting for somebody to point that out when he said it, and I wanted to hear what he got to say. And then you done scared them off and stuff.
You went from the Christian Muslim thing over to the historian barbarian territory. So I don't understand why you didn't think she would say something. Because now you're talking about history. You're not talking about your book.
Yeah.
Oh, Yeshai said.
Like, I just don't get like talking.
Yeshai said only motherfucker that can claim Tiffany is him.
I'm sorry, he said.
Shit, DeAndre. Yeah, you heard him.
We got to figure that one out. Yeah.
I'm ready to go to war for it. I'm ready to go to war for it.
I didn't even realize he was on the phone.
Hey, before you go to war, it's a good idea to assess the enemy, big dog.
No, I'm ready to go to war for it.
Hey, listen, I hope you're ready to die for us.
He's talking about analyze.
You
ready to go to war for it.
This nigga's silly as fuck. I'm through.
Something's wrong with him.
Tell him, Tiffany.
That shit was funny.
What happened?
Tell him.
Y'all know Tiffany is my milk of magnesia.
Wow.
There you go. Ask him, Tiff. Ask him.
He's showing it. Hi, Celine.
Not bad.
Can you ask Tiffany's question, please, for the record?
What was the question again?
Oh, my hair.
What was your question for Celine?
Huh? Do he want to talk about it? I don't want him to leave again.
My question was about Islam. What was it?
What about the slave trade?
Slave trade, yes.
Were the Arabs not enslaved?
Yeah.
Arabs had slavery before it was over here, right?
Say that again.
While they were converting people to Islam?
Say that one more time. You said the Arabs had what?
The Arabs.
You going in and out, Tiff.
Prior to white
my
people,
shit. I'm going
where they were converting Islam.
We didn't hear you, Tiff.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you know, you're back now, though. We can hear you. No, she's gonna hang up.
Muslim
question was,
She coming back. She coming back.
Okay.
She driving, so yeah.
I think it's about Muslim involvement in the slave trade, though, basically.
Oh yeah. The Arabs was like I said. When Islam came,
Is
you know,
she
the
here?
Arabs in Brazil. You know what I mean? Slavery was definitely going on. You know what I'm saying? And some did continue it, you know, but that ain't a practice of Islam. You know what I'm saying? In Islam, you get rewards for freeing slaves, even tickets into paradise. So it's a whole act of worship to free a slave in Islam. But that don't mean all the Muslims was practicing Islam perfectly. You know what I mean? But slavery been a economic thing damn near since the beginning of time.
Well, so I guess my question is
Talking to you, little nigga.
it keeps being limited to the Arabs, and I don't know why. There's all these other groups that are non-Arabs and they're Muslim. The Ottomans, for example, are non-Arabs. The Persians, the Central Asian, the Swahili coast. Like you had a whole bunch of fucking slavery going on over in Zanzibar. It didn't have anything to do with Arabs, but it happened to be Muslim. You had whole harems and shit like that built. So I don't know why it keeps it limited to Arabs.
Yeah,
that's why I said Muslim involvement. That's why I said Muslim.
Yeah, that was going on prior to Islam. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely going on.
I'm not talking about prior to Islam.
And it went on after too.
But you were comparing saying the white people and Christianity, right? So I'm comparing.
What happened? No, I'm saying, yeah, I said that it was authorized by them. It ain't authorized in Islam. Like I said, we got reward for freeing of a slave.
Please step into the floor. Only if they were Muslim, right? You're telling me they were freeing other people. They were freeing other people that weren't becoming Muslim.
And that's the thing too. People think they was just going in and just enslaving people. No, they came in when they took over, and it wasn't just like they was just taking over shit. But when they did get into it with somebody and they was at war with them, they gave them the option: you become Muslim, you could pay the jizya tax, or you can get the hell on.
You know the jizya tax was for what two specific groups of people?
For the non-Muslims.
No, it's not for non-Muslims. For Christians and Jews, pay a jizya tax.
Ain't they non-Muslims?
Yeah, you said non-Muslims is in a wider category. I'm telling you that it's not just for non-Muslims.
Talking to your bitch.
Other groups of people were fucking enslaved.
Put that banana in your mouth and shut the fuck up.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to speak to the topic. All right, that's what I thought.
I'm talking to who asked me, not your gay ass.
I did ask your bitch ass.
Nigga, you was the woman that I heard ask me a question.
No. I'm the man that you hear. I'm the man that you hear when you imagine a man leading you.
You a bitch.
Hey, Salim. So you are Salim. So you are saying there were Muslims participating in the slave trade?
Yeah, Muslims had slaves for sure, and they freed them, let them go. You know what I'm saying? They kept some.
But I'm saying.
But look at how
those people. Hold on, real quick, because Tiff asked this question. Tiff, you tell me if I'm not hitting it. Did they let anybody go that did not convert to Islam?
Yeah, they just had to get out the area or pay the jizya.
Or be a slave?
Be a slave. So if
like
I'm
if
giving,
they didn't leave and they didn't pay the jizya, wait,
you can leave.
If they didn't leave and they didn't pay the jizya, what happened to them?
Yeah, I can't speak to it because I would assume a motherfucker would leave before they would go into slavery.
Hey, Tiff, can I ask you a couple questions?
Huh?
Tiff, the brother said they didn't come in and just take over shit, right? You heard that?
You jealous, baby? Yeah.
Did he follow that up with saying that the Muslims came in? Did he say that the Muslims came in?
That the Holy Land. We allowed the Jews to come back.
So he then said that they came in. They got into it with you. They told you become a Muslim or pay us taxes or leave, right? Or they were going to enslave you. Does that happen?
You can get the hell on.
Yes.
You can pay the tax.
So the Muslims came into your area. They fought you for being a non-Muslim. They enslaved you and said, "Hey, I'll let you." You're a goddamn lie.
Shut your bitch ass up. You was a goddamn liar.
So they come in. They come in. They say, "All right, cool. It's all right, cool." Couldn't enslave y'all niggas to not be a Muslim.
In the conversation, you bitch.
How did the Ottomans come into control?
Exactly. It's going to be our next fucking question. I swear to God.
What happened? I ain't heard it. My phone, goddamn it.
How did the Ottomans gain control? Because the Ottomans were in control.
Yeah, we had caliphs all the way to the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire part of the caliphs.
But they had to take down the Byzantine Empire, right?
Whoop they ass. And if you look at history, the people was more happy under the Muslim control than the Byzantines.
Anybody said that shit?
They had them bullshit ass taxes. Nigga, it's history. What is you talking about? Nigga, it's history. The Byzantines was dogging the elderly, dogging everybody. Nigga, the Muslims, they didn't tax the elderly. They didn't tax the women. They taxed men that was able-bodied men to work. The Romans, on the other hand...
Yeah, the women went to harems.
Shut your bitch ass up, please. The Romans, on the other hand... You can look this up. The Romans, on the other hand...
I don't need to. Already done.
Leandre, would you shut the fuck up, bro?
You mean the person who's been interrupting the
Would
entire
you
time while I was
shut
out
the
talking to
fuck
Tiffany?
up,
You want me
nigga?
to
I
shut the
went
fuck
on
up?
mute while your gay ass was talking. Put that
You a
banana in
goddamn
your
lie,
mouth.
and you got short-term memory loss, Dory.
Man, put that banana in your mouth, bro.
Hey, listen, you
Shut
keep
your
that
bitch
goddamn
ass
helmet
up.
on, slow ass nigga. Protect
Suck
that
on
soft
that
spot in the
banana.
back of your
That's your
goddamn head. Missed a piece of your goddamn skull, and niggas blew that shit out.
To the history of that banana in your homeboy's hand with your chest out. What you
Speak to that history. When you thought you was flexing,
the females got
before I have another question.
The females in your city got on a post and clowned your lame ass. You posted that shit. They thought you was Chris Brown or something, nigga.
Yeah, okay.
Is you cool?
Yeah, okay.
Chris Beige.
The
Chris
fuck
Beige,
this nigga bite the
different. Chris
rose.
Beige. It's a little different.
A nigga bite the rose up under a nigga with his chest out, and this nigga got a banana. Tell me what the point was in the banana, please, sir.
Okay, but can y'all stop the personal stuff? I have a question, right? So before Spain,
trying to talk to dude.
So before Spain got into the slave trade and everything, who was running Spain like prior to 14?
Yeah, I can't really speak to that history. I don't know it like that. I don't
You don't
speak
know
on what I
nothing
don't
about.
know.
You don't know nothing about the Moorish Empire.
I know a little. I got a book on it. I just haven't read it yet. I got a little bit on it, but I know that Moors civilized Europe's dirty ass for shit. Sure.
What?
Took them out the Black Plague and shit.
How do you civilize people that had like Roman baths and shit?
Roman baths? Is that what you said? I don't know the Roman baths is.
Like, I'm confused.
Yeah, they was nasty as fuck. They ain't brushed their teeth. It was a sign of royalty to not take a motherfucking bath. When the Moors was going into Europe, they smelled them motherfuckers before they even got to the shore. The fucking queen, this bitch did take a bath for like, I don't know how many years.
Which queen?
Or brush their fucking teeth. The motherfuckers didn't have plumbing or none of that shit. That's why that's
which country are you talking about? You talking about all of Europe? Because like these different countries in Europe, right? And they don't even have the same customs.
But you're like lying. It was never a form of royalty to not bath, not bathe. That's crazy.
Well, that's why I'm trying to ask you who you even talking about. Like what queen?
Hold on, let me go get her.
Yeah, you gotta get some specifics here because that just wasn't a cultural thing. And then
Right.
it smelled
for the
because
European. Hold on.
of how they were doing their streets and their garbage and shit.
Yes, they were throwing shit out the windows.
But
they
that has
didn't
nothing
have
to do
plumbing.
with them fucking.
But that was like what in London?
It does.
Like what are you talking about? Where are you talking about?
The Black Plague. It started the Black Plague.
You think the Black Plague came from what?
From them dirty ass Europeans. They was dirty all the way around the board.
It came from rats, bro.
Jesus Christ.
It came from rats and not having enough cats.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. All right.
He said the Black Plague came from not.
Yeah, the dirty ass Europeans. Yeah, like they brought all them diseases when they came over here to America. Them same dirty ass Europeans.
So then why are we getting Ebola from Africa? If they're like, what do you mean? Like
Ebola?
Bruh.
Like, what is that?
Come on, man.
What up, Blue?
Landing at LAX right now. I got
That nigga said, where he go? Did he come off the call? He's still here. Yeah.
No, he's still there.
I need a queen that was happy to not bathe. That's a sign of royalty.
Marinated booty sweat made you royalty. That's crazy.
You know what?
what?
The myth versus reality. Bathing was the norm. The famous quote from Spain's Queen Isabella boasting that she only bathed twice in her life is widely debated by historians. It was likely a rigid religious vow of penance or a political statement, not a reflection of everyday hygiene. Royalty enjoyed it. Medieval kings traveled with portable bathtubs. And rulers like England's Edward III had luxurious piped hot and cold water. Charlemagne was famous for hosting massive communal bathing parties. We know where they got it from.
So, like, saying like that, the people on the boats that came to America, they probably stank, right? Because they've been on the boat for a month, 2 months, however long it took to get there, right? They stank. But just normal, everyday people, they know how to bathe.
Europeans still stink.
Over the course of history, that's why people have to live near water. You need to drink it, bathe, do all, like, water is necessary for life.
It said the stigma began when early Christian theology heavily associated public bathhouses with sin, adultery, and moral corruption. Devout nobles often limited their washing as a way to prove holiness, self-discipline, and denial of worldly vanity. That's disgusting.
So they stopped taking public
That's
baths,
just that
basically.
baptism.
They wanted you to
Yeah,
go take a
baptism,
private
water
bath.
bath.
Yeah. Instead of soaking in a tub, nobles relied on frequent dry scrubbing with fresh linen cloths that maintained personal hygiene through vigorous combing, using perfumes, and changing their linen undergarments daily to absorb body odor.
They was putting some goddamn perfume on that
Oh,
shit.
they was funky. But they still bathe.
Keep the dirt on and throw the perfume on the top.
That's just booming. Just
So what did you think? So what did you think that you were saying that they weren't doing anything, and then the Moors
No, I'm just
brought
saying
that
the Moors helped them a whole hell of a lot, is what I'm saying. That's all.
What do you think that they brought though? Which mechanism?
Civilization.
Islam.
They were already they were civilized. So what did they bring them?
Islam. That's why they had to have the Spanish Inquisition and tell them to get the fuck out.
Asses up out of here.
No. The Spanish Inquisition was to get the Jews and the Muslims out.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I
you
thought
weren't
you
going to
was talking
convert
about
to
the funky
Christianity.
people.
You were going to get the fuck out their country.
I thought you was talking about them funky
The same
niggas.
way you just said the Muslims did. It's the same shit, right?
Yeah, I thought
get the fuck out of here.
I thought you was talking about them funky motherfuckers. My bad.
You don't know about the Spanish Inquisition? Like, I don't understand.
Nah, no. Well, tell me
how
about
you don't know part of the history of the Moors and Islam?
I ain't because
they had to get across North Africa with
he,
Islam first, right?
I don't think he identifies with the Moors, though, right?
I don't identify with the Muslim, learning Islam first, and then I'm gonna go get into the other studies, like language. I do know some stuff about history.
Weren't they Islamic?
Who? The Moors?
The Moors.
Yeah, the
but
Moors.
That doesn't mean that that's a part of the history of the Muslims. Like,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a Christian, you might go by the book. You might not necessarily give a fuck about Catholicism and what they was doing or the Rosicrucians or anything else. You might just look at the text and study that. So it's like, just because people follow that religion doesn't mean that you care about them.
But if you want to talk about what white people did at the same time, when these other people that the religion you follow was doing it too, I mean,
doing the same thing
about that. Yeah.
What happened?
Because they ain't taught that they was given that by their oppressors.
What happened?
Everybody get taught that, like, Christianity was introduced over here. You forget that the Muslim religion was introduced in Africa through the same thing, slave trade.
Right.
Through what? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Oh, my God. All right.
Islam entered Africa in the 7th century.
Islam entered Africa in the time of the Prophet. Actually,
what time was that? What time was that?
The Africans accepted damn near before the Arabs
But
did.
what time was that?
It was time of the first century.
The 7th century.
What century?
When Muslims got chased up out of Mecca, they went into Ethiopia.
Okay, and what time period was that?
Hold on, I got you. 1 second.
The 7th century.
Right.
Patrick. Stab you in the face, Patrick.
No, and then when they were going, because we had this conversation with what's his name, Izzy Miyake, and he told us that the North African people were Christian first, and then the Arabs came in with Islam, and they had like wars and shit, and then ended up converting to Islam. There was like a woman that was fighting them.
I don't think y'all arguing too much against each other. I don't think he realized, because I think this the same nigga I told before. Like, he be off with his timelines a little bit. So he not even realizing that he's saying the Prophet of Muhammad would have died towards 7th century CE, or it would have been considered the time of Muhammad. I put it like that.
It's like history, just like it's not a thing that you guys learn in Islam. Like it's just you just learn about Muhammad. Nothing happened before him.
So one thing I learned from religion, period, is that when you keeping up with the history of religion, when it's doctrine and you're not like going and studying the details for yourself, you don't have timelines and dates for events. You see what I'm saying? You just have people and actual events that happen. You don't have timelines to go along with it or dates to go along with it. That's why he just said time of Muhammad, but he didn't realize that that was the same
But he
time
told
frame
her no
that
at
y'all was
first.
saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm
Like he let her
saying.
know this time, and it's like, well, had he actually admitted that, then he would have even had more on his side of it being historically accurate.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm honest enough to say, like, certain things that I learned as I was growing in religion, and that's one thing for sure you're not gonna get is no timelines. Like that's doctrine. You gotta go study the details for yourself, and then you'll realize when somebody's saying 6th, 7th century, oh, that is considered the time of Muhammad. So you saying, nah, it wasn't 7th century, it was in the time of Muhammad. That's crazy.
You said what? AD? What time?
It's like 6 or 7.
Okay, so
Between
the
6 and 7.
600s are what century? Because we're in the 2000,
That's the
the
7th
21st
century.
century,
That's what I
right?
was just
Like
saying.
Yeah,
that's the
like
7th century.
6, 7.
No, the 600s are the 7th century.
Oh, I think he trolling. He keeps saying 6, 7.
Zero through 100 or
I think
99
he
or whatever
trolling Tiff because he keeps saying
is
6,
the
7.
first century. So whatever
I don't
years
think
you're
you may
in,
know what 6,
the
7.
century is a year before, like, right? So we in the 2000s, right? 2026, but this is the 21st century.
Tiffany, can you hear us?
I just want to make sure he understands century.
Yeah. He was trolling.
Just 6, 7 me to death.
Go with
Oh, my bad.
Salim ain't on here. That was blue.
I can't see my phone right now.
She'll be here like, I want you to understand, sir.
Look, Blue just kept saying 6, 7, 6, 7.
Oh, where you been at, Blue? I ain't seen you in days.
He just hopped off the line.
Yeah, he in LA.
There's the plane or something.
Good
There
job.
you go.
I ain't hear you. What you said?
I was just saying hi. I didn't know that was you. I ain't looking at my phone. I thought that was a Celine man. Like, he can't be this.
I thought that was Celine too. He kept screaming out 6, 7.
LAA. Oh.
Oh, what time is it? I gotta get dressed.
Snap in a
Do
little
my
part, a
errands.
little bit. Because y'all know I lost $2,500 twice in 5 days.
On what?
In a matter of seconds. Like, man, I don't even. I damn near jumped. First, I lost that shit on Friday. The fucking market changed. So, boom, 2,500 gone. I bounced back though. I built that shit all the way back up all week long. Friday though, what was that? Thursday hit. I done built all the money back up. Thursday hit. Trump ass started talking. The market go the exact opposite way. 2,500 gone again. In like seconds, and I'm selling at the same time that shit was gone. I was literally selling that shit for profit. I'm like, fuck. I gotta do this shit again. Whole another week. Oh, bro.
Yeah,
You can't make this shit up. And I'm talking about like a second. Like I was literally trying to be perfect and sell my shit at a price, and that shit went up.
Thank
Then
you.
I looked back up, I was down 1,800. I
Oh,
was
can I
like, what
catch
the
up in the
fuck is
ranch?
this? Crazy, right?
So Leandre and Tiffany, what's the probability and ratio of why y'all say none of us
What?
are from the tribes that migrated from the Levant?
We say probability and ratio of why we say that sentence. What's I don't understand what to make of the sentence.
What are these tribes? What are their names? And where did they come from?
So, Iman, with respect to the transatlantic slave trade, um, we know the regions where slaves were coming from. You had Africans who even got on boats and shit that they got from Europeans and sold them on the coast of the United States to people known as factors. Um, we can tell which, with some pretty good accuracy, regions and tribes that people came from. We have accounts of people and shit that they came. We know what religions and shit were practiced on the continent because the slaves gave us accounts. If these were Israelites, for example, they would have been literate tribes of people. If they're going to be reading Torah, um, if they're going to be recognizing certain practices, we have accounts that would have come from these people. We have accounts that would have come from their contemporaries. People would have been sitting next to them, saying the way that they prayed and the way that they worshiped. We have accounts of these. Phyllis Wheatley collected for us loads and loads and loads of accounts.
There's that Muslim man too. I can't remember his name.
Absolutely. We know that there were Muslims who came over here in the transatlantic slave trade. We know the Christians came from the transatlantic slave trade. They describe their practices. People describe the practice of these people, and the group of people that you're talking about eerily seem to be missing in its entirety. The time when people popped up with this sort of belief and idea, that came about at a certain historical point in time, by and large, early 20th century. Early 20th century, it's the 1900s. And so you can actually trace when this idea came about. It is strangely missing, going back to the 1400s, right? Which is when you would have had slaves being brought over here to this region, to the Americas. So it would be really interesting that you would have these people who would have had a footprint here, and especially to be in any sort of numbers to be representative of the population of Negroes and stuff who are here, that we have absolutely nothing. Their captors didn't talk about it. The captives didn't talk about it. The captives didn't talk about it, whether or not they were part of the tribe or the group. It's missing. And they would have talked about every other people group. And then when it is popped up and is claimed around the turn of the 20th century, that follows a bunch of other historical developments, but it's strangely missing from the record. And then when it's popped up, it's not being claimed even on the basis of the claims that you're making now. It happens by and large because of a vision. Because the earliest accounts of people who are even making the claims aren't making the sort of claims and historical connections that Negroes are making today when they want to tie themselves back to it. So, what tribes? What people? Give me these historical. Where did they land? What colony? What colony were they in? Give me the records of these people. We had all sorts of ones that were literate, but even the ones who weren't literate, we have recorded accounts. They would just be missing from every time anybody decided to record and write down any sort of history. They're missing. There's no historical basis for such a claim. It just isn't any. First people popping up that they could, with this sort of hermeneutic in ways that they could discover that they were Israelites, was a group of men called the Rodsmen. And the Rodsmen come about in the year 1800. The only problem is that these aren't Negroes. And I'm not talking about British Israelism, which took place across the pond and was a similar phenomenon, also of white people. But the Rodsmen thought that they could detect who or who was not an Israelite. And they had lots of the same scripture proofs, same hermeneutical principles for arriving at such a claim and idea. The only difference is that they had the addition that they had these rods that could also detect who was an Israelite. So yeah, no, it's missing. That there's no historical basis for such an idea, none. And then even among the earliest wave of Israelites, of Israelites who were, and in historical literature they differentiate them between like black Jews with capital letters, like capital B and capital J, or lowercase black Jews. But there's the earliest wave of them. You had one of the leaders saying that this was an identity that we just adopted because we thought that it would just be conducive to consider ourselves Jews because the Jews are so successful. And so he tells you emphatically it's there saying it's basically this is cosplaying. It's cosplaying to be a motivation for Negroes to encourage them to be successful in the face of oppression like the Jews are. So very, very, very low probability. Very, very, very low probability. It's some shit. Yeah, near zero.
Okay. Well, you asked a few times, like, what basis would I even go off of? A lot of the tribes, you're correct when you talk about certain history on the ground. A lot of what I'm considering or referring to is oral tradition in those areas. I'm not one of the people that take away validity in oral tradition. So if you have, people that haven't had their migration tracked by anybody else in history, but they're telling you that they come from a certain place, then that's one of the things that I hold to. And there's a diaspora of those people all through West Africa, including places like not even just specifically West Africa, but I know for sure like Sierra Leone, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Nigeria, things like that. Specifically the Yoruba tribe, the Ashanti tribe, things of that nature. So when you know that these people, are some of the same lineage of people that were in the transatlantic slave trade, that's where my probability comes in at for me to even
The
consider.
Ashanti people are Israelites.
I'm
Yeah,
not emphatically making that declaration, which is why I say I'm more of one of the people that just give validity to oral tradition, and they do have a history of migrating from the Levant.
really,
Yes.
really, yeah. So
What would make them migrate?
yeah, you have your African history incorrect as well. But hey, you've given what you said to be your reasons. You also, but I'm going to say you also have your African history incorrect as well.
I mean, I could find you a source, but that'll end up being subjective in whoever's considering.
No sources. So first of all, anything, even when you say something like oral history would be a source. But oral history has a way of testing its claims. You might be a Roman and you say that you descend from Romulus and freaking Remus, right? And so like even when you talk about certain ideas and certain traditions, they likewise have an origin, right? Which you seem to be tracing back to the time of the Levant, that this was their history of how they came about, and that is going to be false. Um, so like one of the pieces of evidence and stuff like that's appealed to when I talk to Israelites and stuff the world over is like I've seen them even pull up like early American documents, and they say things like the Jews of West Africa, whatever, right? Which was not at all like even in the writings itself don't at all mean to suggest that they think that the people are Jews or descendants of actual Jews. It was a statement to me that these were people who were without a home. They were like a nomadic people. But the way that stuff is interpreted by non-specialists, by people who don't know what they're looking at, they look at that stuff completely out of context of what the people writing it actually said that they meant. But to speak to the African history thing, you don't have a history that goes back to the Levant of these sorts of origins, these sorts of beliefs, and then when you start having a small group of people pop up and say that sort of thing, well, there's all sorts of reasons for that. But the African history, like I said, you have wrong too. We can certainly set a time and we can go through one by one and look at them. But there is the probability, like I said, is the actual probability is near zero. Like it's not a thing. And again, and because what I said, I didn't really hear. It's like, for example, you talk about this oral history. What oral history of what people here, right? Like, where can this be seen? Like what people, what group? How do you know this history goes back to let's say people getting off of the slave ship? What way do you know to check the age of an oral history?
Oh yeah. See, for one, I'm not one of the people that only say that any group of people got here by the slave trade. I don't confine any group of people to that. But what I will say is that there's clear evidence that there were large groups of people brought over here, and they weren't all the same blood type. They weren't all the same haplogroups. They weren't all the same religion, etc. So
I don't hear an answer to the question I asked, Iman. I'm not gonna lie. What I asked a pointed, specific question. I asked it for a reason.
I think I was finna get there, but I was okay. What's your question, so I can just try and answer it a little more definite.
When you talk about people having this oral history, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are two, those words separately and together, they mean something, right? You say that it's oral, right? And this is passed on. This is verbally, right? So these are things being stated. And you said that it is a history. I want to know how are you able to verify that what you're telling me is actually an oral history? Not that someone told you this before. I'm asking what way? How do you verify? How do you check the validity of an oral history? How do you know that it's an oral history to begin with?
With the people.
Yeah. No. If I pop up today and I invent a story, right? And I tell it to my kids heard it from me, and I tell them this is an oral history. Does that establish it as an oral history?
No.
Okay. What makes it an oral history?
I guess by what you can prove. If you can prove something within the history.
Yeah.
Explanation of the fact.
what you say?
Explanation of the facts.
Yeah. So listen. So one of the ways that you know that something is an oral history, like for example, I could tell you that I know that certain oral histories about Muhammad circulated very early, right? I could say that I know they did. One of the ways I know that is because there's multiple competing and circulating. Because the thing about any oral tradition is it is going to undergo changes over time, because despite any sort of claim to the contrary, oral histories are not going to be things that have a perfect preservation. They just won't. Human memory doesn't work like that. Storytelling doesn't work like that. There's all sorts of different emphases that are going to take place in different regions and stuff like that. So when you talk about this oral history, I should see streams of this idea, except for the fact that it does not exist. Is you telling me that there's this oral history, that I'm telling you that when they were recording this ideas of these people groups, and when they're telling the stories of these people groups, when we had all sorts of escaped slaves that landed on Saint Helena, right? Because the Brits were stopping slave ships and shit on, and some of these people were taken back, and they were taken back to the continent. Some of the people died. Most of the people died off. Lots of the people stayed on Saint Helena Island, and they started new lives, just like that. There, I should see streams of this sort of teaching and this idea different places with these variations in the story. I can now say that there must be some oral history that goes back prior to, because I see these different streams. It must have come from a common ancestor. We do it the same way we would do a language, right? You see these commonalities between the Romance languages, right? So if it's Latin, if it's French, if it's if it's Spanish, if it's whatever it is, right? These come from the Romance languages, so I can tell that there's an ancestor to it. You don't have a way of showing me that this is even an oral history. You're telling me it's an oral history, but I should be able to see multiple streams of this, and we don't. I do not see that there is no multiple streams. There is no clear evidence. That's one of the ways that I can know that something was an oral history, by looking at the multiple streams of it. Is how I verify.
I guess when you say multiple streams, what do you mean?
Like, for example, so you had all these different people. You had all these different people, right, who came from all these different places and these different locations, right? And so they came from the same continent, and largely from the same regions, right? That's
First,
Earth, can you mute?
Banana Man.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Let me go answer to it. So anyway, you have multiple people from the same continent, from the same regions. We know this from the genetic testing. These people came from lots of the same people groups, same tribes. We know that this is a fact. Like this is a thing. This is not in dispute. We can look at similar cultural practices and stuff like that permeate through African American society and stuff like that today. And you can look and say, okay, this sort of practice right here came from this region right over here. It came from this region over here, even though the earliest people couldn't name the region because they didn't have these, the sort of idea and mindset that we do about continents and countries and equatorial lines and all that kind of stuff. You can look to see where this stuff comes from, right? And so I can tell you that people who came from the same fucking location, but we're just a different boat stop away. They say this one over here got 20 slaves and they took the boat around and dropped off another 50 slaves over here, right? I should see multiple streams of the same thing, and you don't see it. It doesn't appear. So despite the fact that people disperse all over Europe, all over the Americas, to parts of Asia, and you know what I'm saying? So I should see that this is that there's multiple streams of this story. And I could say, hey, this story must go back. And then when I look among the African peoples, right, then I should see a similar connected story where they're talking about the same place, the same time, same locations, right? There's going to be some differences in these things, but I can see that this goes back, right? And then I can trace it. I can say, hey, these people right here got the same sort of story. Hey, these were people who were enemies of theirs, and they recorded their story or whatever, right? And they have a story about their story, right? So there's a process of, as Courtney would say, verisimilitude, even to oral history, that's also missing. So I don't accept that there was this oral history because you tell me there's an oral history, because it's missing from the record of the ancestors. It's utterly missing from the records of the ancestors. And when this stuff popped up, it happened at a certain time. So, like, for example, I would ask you to show me this oral history of these people that you're talking about. Show it to me. Don't tell me that somebody said, but show me that this being an oral history among the peoples in 1805, right? Among your ancestors in 1805. Show it to me. You're not going to be able to, but I would ask that.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying when I say oral history. When I say oral history, I mean by the time you start getting people to document and track Africans' history, outsiders tracking Africans' history, the migrating would have already happened.
Well, that's not an oral history, Iman.
So as far as the tradition or oral history that I'm referring to, just means that it wouldn't be the mainstream understanding. So when you talk about multiple streams, I guess you wouldn't be getting the streams that you're looking for. But I can line up a lot of things and a lot of history that is there to show you emphatically how there are certain definitely certain tribes that migrated from the Levant, as well as in today's time, even if they don't make a declarative statement and say that they have that evidence, they do say that there is still a high influence. So, I mean, that's something that I don't know. You making me want to just put a presentation together and just compile some information, because it seems like I could grab a few things that you may or may not be privy to, but I don't know if you're just excluding it as pseudo because it's not mainstream or what. But
well, no, it has nothing to do with mainstream. It has to do with methodology. So and I think most people heard me say this before,
especially when it comes to practices, because I heard you mention that as well.
Yeah. So and most people have probably heard me say this before, but my one of the papers that I wrote to receive the master's degree in history, it was I typically like to choose topics that are about my people. Most Black academics do, for better or for worse. We typically stick to topics that are around our people, our culture. But I one of the papers I wrote was on the rise of Black electism, and it was specifically on things like the history of Hebrew Israelism and the movement. So this included going through early pamphlets and literature with them discussing their history, including going through the work of a couple master's degree level Black Hebrew Israelite practitioners and looking at the best of their presentations of the history. And so I don't know that, and nobody supports their view on history of much of anything. And by and large, even in their work, they admit to there being a lack of evidence on this topic. It is largely
you don't believe that I subscribe to any of that, do you?
Well, what I believe that you subscribe to is that you're an Israelite, and that happens by some kind of way of Africa, and it's the common thread between you two, but between the parties, and it's nonsense. And so you all may have all sorts of other points of disagreement, but on that particular point, that's the crimson cord between you all, and it's wrong. Like I said, like when you talk about when things started being recorded and like written down and stuff, again, that's just to go back to that. That's what I mean by where's the oral history? We are, as Africans, are an oral people. Like we survived mostly by not writing things down. And so when you're talking about an oral people, I should see streams of this story that pop up places. And so let's say, for example, we take your example, when things are being written down, I should see the same sort of thing recorded. Stories should have been passed down in multiple regions because I can show you that multiple people came from the same people.
Why would you need to see consistent stories instead of a consistency of different practices?
Well, one, because all sorts of religious groups have similar practices. All sorts of, like, for example, you can show me that a tribe has circumcision, and I can show you that the fucking Egyptians had circumcision, and that doesn't tell me that the Egyptians are Israelites. Okay, so things like that. That doesn't tell me anything. Okay, so all sorts of, and that's just one example. I get so there. It's not, certain things are not unique enough, right? And so for you to grab well, this one right here, there's just one thing over here, and this another. Like I have a whole book over here, a couple of them. One book where someone tried a very similar thing. It's called The Gospel and the Red Man, and it's where someone tried to make a similar claim about the Native Americans being one of the lost tribes. And usually what would happen is you would encounter some different group, and then you would cherry pick certain practices and say, this is similar to what the Jews did or whatever, right? And this is similar to what the Israelites did, and therefore this person, and that's not how history is done. It's not how you establish that. All sorts of religious groups have similarities in religious practices. There's only really so many goddamn ways you can control the body. It's only so many goddamn animals and stuff that you could have. But there is a criteria for establishing that. And all of these sorts of things, they fall far short. So what I would want to see here is again, if you're talking about an oral people who most of the world in and of itself, just in fairness, was not literate, was not literate, in the even in the fucking 19th century and going into the 20th century. So it's 90 some odd % of the world wasn't literate. Okay, so And when you're talking about like the African people, they're highly oral culture. Okay. And so that right there runs counter to the idea that that these people would be, let's say, Israelites, for example, right? Like, let's say, because are they reading Torah? Let's say you say, hey, they weren't reading Torah, that's why they were punished, that's why they're there. Cool, fine. Then I should see some practice of oral history, right? Like, where's this story being continued among the people who would have come from the same tribe, same area, same region, the same what we mark out as the same country and stuff like that right now. There's a difference in boat stops, but you have like people who are in over in the West Indies who come from the same place in Africa as people who landed in Florida or who landed up in Jamestown and stuff, right? Especially because the Europeans made a point to try to get ones from certain regions because they fought less on the boat. There's a whole study on it. We look at the records of early Europeans. They were seeking and they were in discussion with grabbing people from the same regions. Give me some more slaves from the Angola region. They don't fight back as hard as these other ones over here. And that's a fact. Okay, so when we know that these people came from the same places and it's a difference in boat stop, that same sort of stories that continued, the same sort of stories that they're telling me that were oral history, they should pop up among an oral people in multiple locations, and it doesn't. The claim of Negroes being Israelite pops up at a certain point in time in history around the 20th century. That's when it pops up. It's missing everywhere else from where our oral people were.
I agree with him. That's true. I agree with him.
I mean, how much earlier would they have had a time to start documenting their own history of such?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You keep talking about documents, and oral history is separate from documents.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen. So
if
what I'm
soon
saying
as
is,
they had the ability to start making the documentation to make such a claim, they started making the claim. Wouldn't that mean that they were keeping the traditions up until they had the ability to make the documentation?
They don't. No, that's not the earliest time that they could have recorded, written anything down. We have slave accounts and shit that went back way prior to that. I have a whole catalog of them. It's a reprint. It's one of those. It's American Slavery as It Is. You got like things like the classic slave narratives. I just told you, like Phyllis Wheatley recorded a bunch of slave narratives. You had literate Negroes who would write down the stories of other Negroes. You had that stuff from the beginning. You had Europeans who would write it down of different stocks and flavors. Ones who could have been in support of slavery, ones who were sympathetic of the slave cause. You have Native Americans who could have been writing down these accounts, and they were. And so you have Negroes who learned to be literate, and when they wrote and stuff like that, all of this is missing. And they talk about their practices and stuff like that at home. They tell us about the way that they pray.
When are you saying they would have had the ability to start doing this?
From jump, they would have had the ability immediately. This is another
during slavery.
Yes, during slavery. One, they were free black people. Two, the antebellum slave period, right? Last 50 years. Prior to that, slavery looked at a bunch of different ways. So, for example, you had slavery that would have taken places around the Dutch, which would have been a much more free, for lack of a better term.
So what century?
You had all sorts of slaves who worked for a number of seasons, 3 or 4 months out of the year, and the other 8, 9 months they actually had off. You had all sorts of slaves who, once they met a certain quota, then they would actually start receiving pay. You had slaves who worked as judges. You had slaves who worked for high-ranking officials. They were literate. They could read. They could write, and they were writing accounts of all sorts of things. Yet again, you had people like Phyllis Wheatley collecting slave accounts. We have voice recordings and stuff like that of slaves. You have slaves discussing the practices, the burial practices and stuff that took place, and none of it has anything to do with that. And they came from the same region. So every occasion that there was a right to things out, you had Africans who came over with the Europeans to navigate this place when they first landed here.
So once again, when are you talking about that they would have had an ability that they weren't doing it? Like, just give me a time frame.
Well, I'm telling you from the beginning. I don't know how much more clear you want me to get from the 1400s. They would have had this from the 1400s. Yes, from the 1400s. That's what I'm telling you. I don't know what your idea is of slavery, but slavery is most slavery on the continent. Most slavery on this continent did not look like antebellum slavery. Slavery was varied. It was multifaceted. Anywhere you was near the Dutch, it was going to be a hell of a lot different. So lots of them, they let those people craft a slave system that was more akin to the one they had over in West Africa. These people worked, they did all kinds of stuff. They were gainfully employed. They had jobs outside of whatever the quotas was. You have people who had quotas like, hey, once you give me this amount, everything else you can keep. There's all sorts of different ways that slavery looked. And so, yes, from the beginning, they'd have had this. We have accounts, we have writings, we have recordings, we have slave accounts. You had slaves who were writing things like that. They would be sitting in church. They could have been secretaries. They were keeping records. They were writing about the land and stuff that they came from, or the land that their moms stuff came from, what their practices were. We could see what their practices were. There's an entire book on this called Slave Religion by Albert J. Roboteau, who recounts what by looking just at all the firsthand narratives. What were the slave practices? What were they actually like? We can see we can see records from these people themselves. And so from the beginning, they would have been able to recount what their lot was and what life was like for them.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you're definitely going back way further than what I'm talking about for them to even be making the claims that you're referring to. Why would they have to be in the Americas saying that this, when the bulk of what you're talking about is based off of something that happened in the late 1400s? Why would we be saying that they
That's not
needed
when
to
the bulk
make
of
the
it
claim
happened.
already?
That's that's not when the bulk of that happened.
I have a question.
Very early on, you had very few slaves and shit like that brought here around that time period. That shit ramped up over time. Slavery hit its peak in the 1700s when you start getting the bulk of them. But this 300,000 or so came over here to this continent, and like I said, so the bulk of them, over 90% of them.
talking about white Jews
you're not listening.
in the replacement theology. What you was trying to say, Tiffany?
What?
If where are they at now in Africa? Where are these people?
They're not there. They're only in America.
In the same places.
No, listen. 300,000 or so Negroes came here to this continent. The bulk of it.
It's plenty of Africans that claim to be the true people.
It is a very recent trend of Hebrew Israelite niggas going over to the continent of Africa and telling them that they must have forgotten who they are because God was going to make them forget. And they say the scriptures taught that you're going to forget who you are, stuff like that. A bunch of stuff that the scripture does not say. The scripture never tells anybody that they're going to get amnesia about them being the children. It never says it at all anywhere. That's made up. But anyway, 300,000 or so people came over here to this continent from the continent of Africa. 300,000 or so Negroes. 90 some odd percent of them went elsewhere. But in these places, again, where the bulk of these people, and the only difference is just a boat stop away because they came from the same regions. Niggas wouldn't, they would grab slaves like that from one region, load them up, and then drop them off. They would take orders. They took orders and shit like that, and then went over there to go retrieve slaves and drop them off, like I said. And so, like over
they
in,
would
let's
cease
say
to
Brazil.
be a nation in the eyes of other nations. They would be scattered. They would go through captivity at the hand of other nations.
At
They would
no
be
point in
called
time.
bywords and proverbs and.
Right. No part of that said.
That has nothing to do with.
It has absolutely nothing
forgetting
to do.
Who you are.
Nothing. No word in there. No word in there. The word remember, forget does not appear there in the text at all. Not in Hebrew, not in English, not in Spanish.
Like according to like the Bible, real quick. According to like the Bible, if you think about it, if the Hebrew Israelites were took in the land of Canaan, it would have been Canaan. You know what I'm saying? So they would have been Canaanites instead of Hebrew Israelites if they want to be black. So they would be Canaanites, not Israelites, because the Israelites are totally different people. You see what I'm saying? And the Hebrew Israelites, this thing ain't start until it got to until the Americans. This is a very new, Black American thing. You know.
Actually, the British did it first.
Well.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, is,
I'm not talking about Israelite.
Yeah, the
hold on, wait.
The British were doing it.
Wait, because I want to get off track. Listen, so the email. What was it? What was the last thing you just said?
Say we're not talking about Israelite. We're talking about.
Prior to that,
jog my memory.
I thought y'all was talking about Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah, we are talking about Hebrew Israelites.
Okay.
Anyway, here's the bottom line of it, man. the the fact is that again, that in why is there not like let me go back to this. Brazil got like the bulk of the fucking slaves. Okay, these stories again, and they were writing shit down way prior to. They had a much more they had a much different slave society stuff than we do. All sorts of different writings, right? Whether you're talking about the Spanish and things like that, and so when so when they got liberated in mass places like that, these aren't their stories. This this is largely uh, a uniquely Negro American idea, and then they started sending missionaries to other places with this teaching. But the reality is that we don't have this as a recording, and no matter who was writing what down, no matter what different group of enslavers, no matter what continent these people were taken to, no matter who was writing down, whether they were literate or whether they were not. Like we had some people who were rulers who ended up accidentally captured and enslaved and then being sent back home. You had people who returned home and told what slavery was like. They returned back to Africa and they returned back to their people and stuff like that. And we have their accounts. None of them claim to be Israelites at all. None. That is a problem for your worldview.
Yeah, and like I say, it's plenty of documentation and evidence that talks about these people being Jews from Africa, as well as these people being from the tribes of Jacob, and that's how they were describing them.
Yeah,
That's
didn't
why I
I tell
say
you
when you
before?
talk
Yeah,
about it's going
didn't
as
I tell
far
you
back
before
as
that
you
that's
are
the sort of thing
and
that you're going
looking
to
for
appeal to?
Israelite and black Hebrew Israelite and all that shit, no, you're not gonna find that.
No. Listen, they don't even have to. No, none of them people. They're not describing the people that they captured as Israelites. So we have the Chronicles of Day Azarara, right? And so when he landed around the area of Angola in the 1400s, he's not recording that they're capturing Israelites. None of the people that he captured, none of the people, nobody recorded that the people were captured Israelites. There is no documentation. Hey, what we came across Israelites. What you
That's
had
what
later
I
was
just said, Leandro.
no. I think you're missing it. You said we have documentation. You said we have all this documentation or whatever, and that it says that they come from Jacob and also. And I'm telling you that no, you actually have exact statements that these people are pagans and that they worship strange gods, and then they go on to list the sorts of worship practices and stuff like that they have, and none of it has anything to do with Israelism. Nothing. So again, so you're trying to say the phrase Israelite's not going to pop up, and I'm not making my point, and I'm telling you that either way, that nothing about the description, nothing about their dress, their practices, their worship, when they name their gods, none of this stuff has anything to do with Israelism at all. And so the next step that usually happens here is that people then point, they say, hey, well, that's because these people, they weren't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and that's why they were enslaved. Except for that still does not give us any evidence for believing that they were in the first place. Outside of me just accepting it as true and then saying, hey, that's why they were doing pagan practice at the time that the Europeans arrived. That's not telling me why I should believe that they are not pagans. Like that's not what they were before. We don't have a history from these people saying it. They're not saying that. And then I told you the other thing that usually people appeal to, they say, oh, well, they say that these were like the Jews of West Africa. I told you. And those are out of context statements. Like I could tell you, as someone who's read the Dillingham Commission report, when they say things like the Jews of West Africa, that was not meant to think. That was not meant to state that these people were Israelites or of Jacob or anything like that. That was a statement about those people and their political plight. Because at the status at the time, and this is in all of the literature, the American literature, none of these people are trying to say, hey, these people, these are the true Israelites, and we know it, and we're going to keep
So
it and put
that's
down
in
that secret.
That's in American literature about who these people were.
Yeah, well, who what people were
in Africa that they were?
No. There's a specific tribe. Let's say, like, I think it's in the Dillingham Commission report. I said something like, talk about the tribe as the Jews of West Africa, whatever, right? But that statement doesn't mean that. And it's one, it's a 20th century statement. Two, it doesn't mean what the people think it means. That sort of phrase and statement was used unequivocally to talk about all sorts of people, including European ones, if they were a stateless people. If you were there without a state, that's what they called you. And part of that is because there's a whole American tradition for using biblical language to describe all sorts of people. It's a whole Protestant idea. It's part of their interpretive. It's part of their interpretive method. There's a whole history to that has nothing to do with making a claim of ethnicity. Anybody who thinks that they, as a Negro, that is a fact. Anybody who thinks that as a Negro, that they're an Israelite, and that you're going to be able to establish it this way, that is going to be misguided. That the history is not going to support you, and I mean at all. You're not going to be able to actually go through and do justice to any of these documents. You're not going to be able to find the sort of things that we would use to establish anything else to establish this claim at all. If you want to accept that or believe that on the basis of whatever that's absent that's fine. But to make it seem like there's loads and loads of evidence and there's just some grand conspiracy and group amnesia, but and not even just of the Israelites, because and let me mention this too. You don't have to limit the amnesia necessarily has to not be limited to the Israelites. It has to be that God promised that not only that the Israelites are going to forget who they are, that their enemies are going to forget who they are, or the enemies are going to know it, but also all of their neighbors and all the people who would have known them and been alongside them all of this time, all the other nations who would have known them, all of them also have to get amnesia too. And so God pulled that little thingy out from Men in Black. He flashed that little goddamn light, and he wiped everybody's memory on who the true Israelites were. What did the other nations do? I have no idea, but he wiped everybody's fucking memory. That's what God would have had to done, because nobody, no contemporary of these people supports it. He had to wipe the memory of every tribe, of everybody who knew all the tribes, everybody who would have interacted with the Israelites and stuff like that historically, all of them. God wiped all of their memories, so nobody would know who the true Israelites are. And then in the 20th century, and so for a few thousand years, because throughout church history, throughout the history, when the Bible was in circulation, nobody makes this claim. Nobody. It's not made at all. All of the memory wiped till you get to the 20th century when this is stated and claimed. And that's when it's uncovered, brother. That's when we got the truth. That's when we learned that the way that we was viewing everything prior to was wrong. It's when a man was in the field and got a vision that he was Moses and the Negroes were the true Israelites. That's when it happened, brother. And since then, we've learned so much more. We got so much evidence. No, that's horseshit. That's utter horseshit. There's no backing for this law. So you let me know. As a matter of fact, I tried to have a debate with Yara on this topic, except for he decided to greatly limit himself and saying that he would use only the Bible to establish that he is an Israelite, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. But man, we can set up a whole debate on it. You bring all the research, all the evidence, all the documents you have, all the oral history you have, and you sit across from me. We'll have our cameras on. Have our cameras on the whole time. Do the whole debate with our cameras on. And let's get into it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the guy for that, Leandro.
Well,
To be honest with you, I don't think you've ever heard me claim to be a blood descendant. And I think from my understanding of Yahweh as well, he was probably going to end up taking that debate and trying to, I guess, use that as a small teaching point from his aspect. Now, maybe not necessarily to you. It's not the understanding that everyone has of studying and claiming this faith.
Why are you going to listen, Eman? The stuff that you say is so contradictory, it's not even funny. So, Elon, maybe I'm slow. Maybe that's the case. Let me just go and say that, hey, listen, it's probably the case. What's the point of appealing to African people and people that you descend from, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not making some claim to being whatever you are in some hereditary fashion. Because what else would it be that passes on from an ancestor? That passes on from an ancestor?
I believe the whole claim was because my understanding comes from a faith. So if it comes from a faith, then there would need to be some type of evidences. So the evidences that I do have are, whether you call them small probabilities or not, in your perspective, they are enough validation for me to say the probability is there for me to accept and understand and move forward and move accordingly. I don't have to make a declaration and say, oh, I'm from the blood of such and such, so now I have to do X, Y, and Z. No, the scriptures has select numbers.
Amen. Faith doesn't pass on from an ancestor. I was
In
very
its
specific.
expression for a
Amen.
reason.
Amen. Listen.
So
Amen.
if
You're
there
not
are
answering my
only
question.
certain numbers of people described to, I guess in a sense, even have an understanding, then that's
Amen.
what I'm basing it off of.
Amen. I don't know what you're talking about, but listen, if you are appealing to things from people you descend from, faith does not pass on from an ancestor.
I'm not talking about faith passing on from an ancestor.
So because then you didn't answer my damn question then, because that's what I asked you. You made an appeal to people whom you descended from. Okay? And so that only makes sense if you're talking about things that are hereditary that pass on. So for example, my status, let's say for example, my status as an American citizen, absent certain rare cases, let's say I've been out of the country for a period of a couple of years or whatever, but my status as an American, it passes on to my child by nature of the fact that I possess it. Okay, and so it automatically passes on. So there's a legal passing of one thing to the next, right? Certain physical traits and characteristics that passes on from me to my child. Okay, so the idea that you're saying I'm not claiming to be an Israelite by blood, then what you're saying then is absurd, because I don't want to hear about your ancestors then, and what these traditions were of these people stuff before
don't
you.
say it's absurd and then
No, it is.
say it's absurd.
It is absurd.
According to your. Hold on, don't say it's absurd.
It's absurd according to the definition of absurd.
Your personal opinions.
Iman, I'm not talking. Iman, I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm telling you that it is the logical definition
you don't
of
want to
absurdity.
hear it immediately.
Iman, I was in the middle of talking. You came off. Iman, I was in
it.
the middle of talking. I'm explaining to you why it's absurd. You came off and you talk about I don't want to hear it. I was talking. I was telling you something. I asked you a very pointed question. Okay, and so what I'm telling you is that they're absurd. That's not an opinion. I'm not telling you I don't like a flavor of ice cream.
No, why?
I'm telling you that there are.
You said it's absurd because you don't want to hear about the faith tied to it. That's
no,
why
Iman, I'm telling you that I asked you about, because you're making ancestral claims, and then talking about faith, and then so I asked
making ancestral claims as such as what?
You talking about, oh, well, my grandmother, we had, so you start talking about these teachings that these people had of what history was and where they came from and what their practice and stuff like that were, right?
That's where the probability comes in.
You're not listening to what I'm telling you. That shit does not pass on. That does not pass on because your parent did this shit. Well, the thing that passes on, and so then I just went through listing for you the sorts of things that you can pass on to a descendant.
You're talking about practices. You're not talking about
oh my God. Oh my God, you're not listening. Listen to what I'm telling you. I'm trying to define this for you. I can't. I'm trying.
No, you're conflating things that you've heard me say in past times to things in this conversation.
No, we've had the same exact conversation. We've had the same exact conversation on numerous occasions.
And I've told you about certain practices which give me the faith. That doesn't have anything to do with me claiming, oh yeah, they had these practices, so they most definitely had to be these people. You've never heard me make that claim.
Oh my God. Cool. So just to recap, you're not making a claim of being a descendant of the physical people who came physically, they physically descended from Abraham. You had Abraham had these kids physically, and then the next ones had these kids physically, and the next one had these kids physically, so on and so forth. You're not making a claim of descending from some physical descendant of Abraham.
Leandre, you don't.
That's a yes or no question.
No, and I'm still going to elaborate. You don't.
I appreciate it.
you don't come around enough, bro, to not in a bad way, but you don't hear me make these statements enough. Like I'm not one of these radicalites that you hear on the regular.
No, you're misunderstanding. What I'm telling you is that the statements that you're making right now are incongruent. You're back and forth. You can't make the claim about ancestry, because who makes a sort of claim about ancestry? People claim to be physical descendants. You talked to me a second ago about your ancestors. You've done so on numerous occasions. You can't make those sorts of arguments
I've
unless
never made a
Oh
claim
my
about
God.
ancestry. You've never heard me
Then
make a
don't
claim
talk to me about your
ancestry.
grandmother, because that is an ancestor. I cannot possibly be more.
What have you
Oh
heard
my
me
God.
say about my grandmother as far as any type of ancestry?
Eman, have you talked to me about your grandmother and the faith and stuff that your grandmother had, and this is what their belief was, that's not what you talked to me about?
Yes, and
That is
those
you
are
making a claim
practices,
of his.
Leandre. I ain't never told you nothing about my grandmother claiming to descend from Abraham or Jacob. You ain't heard me say that emphatically.
I haven't heard you say it. I haven't heard you say it emphatically.
Neither one.
You're full
I
of shit.
don't make that claim that the blood is what ties me to my faith. I don't make that claim.
Amen. Then there is no point then of talking to me about anything that your grandmother said, because that shit doesn't pass on. It doesn't matter.
Practices do pass on, Leandre.
No, they do not. Practices
Yes, they
not.
do.
No.
It's all through history. Practices do pass on.
Listen to what I'm
There's nothing you can say to go against that.
Yes, I can, because I'm telling you that I could have all sorts of fucking practices that don't just pass on to my son. There's no necessity of anything passing on. And what I'm telling you is, like I just told you earlier, even oral histories like that, any of those sorts of things, they change over time. So guess what? When you look back, it's not the same fucking practice that occurred 1,000 years ago. It undergoes changes. There's certain people. There's certain people who have largely been immune from that sort of thing. And it's people who codify their stuff in a book. Right? Because then you have something that you can refer back to. But even with that, you can still have some changes. I'm telling you, that sort of practices do not pass on. That is a fact. There's nothing you can say to go against that. Nothing. Because there's nothing that's holding that sort of thing together. So when you tell me, hey, my grandmother and them had this belief what? Because what we were talking about is them being Israelites. So when you make the claim right now, you're making a claim and you're saying, well, my grandmother said this. Well, what difference does it make that your grandmother said it? And we talk about an oral history. An oral history of what?
Leandre,
that people were proselytes.
That my
you're not letting me
grandma
finish.
told me we was Israelites. No.
When I asked you why you believe that you're an Israelite, we walked through this 100 times. We did it again today. What I'm telling you is that, maybe here's what the issue is. You haven't really worked out what you're trying to articulate, but I'm telling you that you've said several things here that don't make any sense.
No,
there's no point in talking to me.
You just don't want to understand it because you don't have an argument.
I understand more than you've ever known in your life.
No, you don't. You want to have an argument against something that you can't. You can't have an argument against my faith. You want to. You want to have a debate about my faith versus your faith. You want to see where our faith differentiate? That's what
I know 200 places where to differentiate, but here's what I'm explaining to you. The argument here is about the question that was asked of me was about Negroes being Israelites.
Exactly. And you immediately conflated that to me asking you that because I want to make myself an Israelite. Nigga,
no.
You know how long I've been doing this shit? I don't give a fuck about trying to make myself a blood descendant and especially proving it to somebody else. That's the last thing I care about, Leandre. Y'all was just talking about history, so I asked a question about it.
And then you start talking to me about oral history, the history of these people from this region, the same sort of stuff. It's the same place we got to when you start talking about. Because I know, like my grandmother, they had this history, these practices.
Made you start talking about One West and how dumb their origin
I didn't
is.
Ain't nobody heard me say One West at all.
That's immediately what you did.
Nobody heard me say One West at all.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
Nobody heard me say One West.
No, you didn't say One West.
I didn't say One West at all.
You spoke to their origin on multiple occasions.
No, that's the origins of Hebrew Israelism, not just One West. One West later.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That is a fact. One West came later. Okay, One West came later. I went to the progenitor of that. I went even prior to that to talk about the Rodsman. I didn't say One West. One West didn't come out of my mouth. I told you when the movement itself, when it popped up. That is a historical fact. It's not even a question. There's no historian writing on the topic of Hebrew Israelism.
Whatever you want to call it.
There's no, but that has nothing to do with One West.
I'm asking you about history.
This is prior to One West.
History prior to a movement.
Yes,
and then you asked me,
everything I gave
well,
you, and everything I gave you was prior to One West.
Then how
One
come
West
this
is an address?
Didn't come to this much later.
Except for One West is an address that came later. One West is second wave. And what I talked to you about,
asking me about a movement according to history.
No, see, Iman, this is you not knowing enough to respond properly. Everything I gave you, One West is an address. Okay, everything I gave you was prior to One West, prior to that location. That is an address. Okay, so when I talk to you about certain people and certain movements, that stuff comes prior, chronologically and logically prior to One West. One West doesn't exist.
I wasn't asking you about no movement. Then don't mention One West because I didn't say it. So when you asked me about a movement to try and validate history, that was irrelevant, and you drug it from there.
No, this is you not having this. You don't have an educated objection to this.
Asking you why?
Why
does that matter?
Iman, that's fine. Keep it
safe.
It doesn't matter.
Where I'm going with it.
Iman, your objection is utterly meaningless. Repeat it until you're blue in the face. You don't have an actual response to what I said. I did not have anything to say about One West. That's not what I talked about. I talked to you about when this idea came about.
Okay, we can throw one.
Nobody thought about. Nobody taught that. Nobody thought. Nobody thought or taught that prior to it all. That's a fact. It's a fact of history. Nobody prior to that taught that at all. Period. No Negroes thought that or taught that. The only time that any Negroes were using any sort of language, they use it in the normal American ways, where there was a Protestant way that people described themselves, and so everybody was using biblical language. None of them were making any sort of claims of being any sort of descendant. That sort of idea came about. The idea that you have right now comes after that. It comes far after that. Nobody was even making the sort of claims that you're making at any point in history prior to. No Negroes are writing this. We have narratives and we have oral histories that existed in multiple countries, multiple continents of Negroes who came from they descended from slaves. Nobody's even making the sort of claims that you're making. They're not making the claims you told me your grandmother's making, which I don't know that I buy.
Did I tell you I was a descendant of slaves?
No, but that's also not what I said.
Okay.
That's also not what I said. What I told you is that you're making convoluted, twisted claims. I told you that you make an ancestral appeal and then abandon the ancestral appeal when I put the flame to it. What I'm telling you is that either way, whether you're making an ethnic claim or whatever claim that you're making right now, unless you're claiming to be a proselyte, unless you're claiming to be a proselyte,
appeal into this conversation, and I asked you why you did that.
Listen, nigga. You say whatever you want. Nobody made this sort of claims you're making. Nobody was making any of these sorts of claims whatsoever. Why do I reject Hebrew Israelism? Because the ancestors they knew
nobody's making what claims that I made. Name the claim that I just made right now, Leandre. And then once again, I'll tell you,
like I said,
I have multiple evidence.
I don't have any crayons on me. I can't make you understand.
What's the claim? What's the claim?
Did you hear what I said? I don't have any crayons. I'm getting ready to go eat lunch. I don't have any crayons. There's no way I can help you.
What's the claim, though?
There's no way I can help you.
That I made today?
We went over this. No. See, now you're saying, what's the claim I made today? First of all, you and I have had the same conversation 50 times. Even what came out of your mouth today, which multiple people heard you do.
We haven't had a conversation 50 times.
You're a goddamn lie. And it's meant to be hyperbolic. But either way, I'm out of crayons. There's nothing I can do to help you. You ready to go?
So what's the claim I made today?
Somebody get a crayon, please, and explain to him that I said we'd have to keep it back in circles. He can't participate.
That there are tribes that migrated
your presentation
from the Levant in Africa. Point blank, period. When he objected, I said I'll compile the information.
Yeah, that there's tribes in Africa that came from the Levant, right? Which is making an ethnic ancestral claim. Listen, like I said, you sat here and made repeated ethnic claims, right? You talk about these ancestral claims that these tribes or these people who are in Africa.
For me?
I'm in the middle of talking. That there's tribes, these people who are they're in Africa, but they're from the Levant. They said, wait a second, but they're from the Levant? Who's making that claim? Oh well, they are, and then you start talking about those people being some of the people came over here. You then said you did. No, you
I
didn't even let me
already
finish.
told you
You
my
didn't even let me
only
finish.
objection, Leandre. I
You didn't even
told
let me
you
finish.
I'll compile the information
That
for
you don't have any.
I wasn't trying to go back and forth with you about it.
You ain't got no information.
Okay.
You got to have this shit with shit Darian.
I asked you a couple years about some of the questions that you was asking for, to make sure I'm being specific in certain information and making sure we on the same track. But at no point in time have I ever been trying to make any other claim, especially not faithful or religious, besides tribes migrating from the Levant and being in Africa before the slave trade. So that means there's certain history that wouldn't have been documented as far as them migrating from there. One of the only things that you would have been able to pay attention to was the difference in practices, the fact that they were clearly different blood types, and the fact that when you look into the history, it was only a certain people being sold in specific time frames. So why was that?
You see shit like that. You're just making shit up. You're just making shit up.
What did
everything
I
you just listed right there? All that shit was made. When you look into the history, it was only certain people being sold in certain the shit that you let fly out of your mouth.
So you saying there's no point in time frame in the slave trade where I can point out specific tribes being chosen by other Africans?
See, that's what I'm saying. See, this
yes right or no, Leandre?
All over the fucking continent of Africa, people being captured and taken as slaves. The entirety of it.
Because you said I was just making this shit up.
Yes,
now, when I
asked
you straight up what I'm making up, you can't tell me.
And I just told you, because the history of African enslaving of the Africans, anyone that they would come in contact with, if they had any sort of beef and shit with, they would enslave them. Now, whether they sold these motherfuckers on the boat was a different thing, but these motherfuckers went all sorts of other places. You may have had certain people wanting certain orders, but all over the continent of Africa, if tribes had conflict with the other tribes, the winning tribe would most likely capture and enslave the people. If they thought you were a member of the same tribe, they were going to treat you a whole hell of a lot better. If you're a member of a different tribe, it was completely fucking different. And so the entire history of African conflict is them grabbing and enslaving one another the entirety of the time. They would offer these different people for sale. Sometimes you'd have ones who said, "Hey, I want something from this."
You rambling, Leandre.
I'm not rambling. I just pointed out the historical errors of what you just said. No, I'm not rambling. You having the comprehension issue.
What I just said.
I just did. Because I just told you that the whole time that they would have been capturing and enslaving everybody, whether they would have been sold to some particular group of people.
So at no point in time was it a significant thing in a certain
point. No. Oh, wait. The language is changing now, isn't it?
Okay. No,
it's now not. The language is changing.
It's not at all.
It is. Yeah, like I said, you might want to. I can recommend some books. You might want to brush up on it. But this game is not for you.
No. You just want to argue for the sake of arguing, Leandre, and that's exactly why I said that's what makes me want to just compile the information in one area.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not big on doing that unless it's for a presentation or a debate or something like that. So,
yeah, I know. Listen. You sit there, you put your presentation together, get your lies off. Do it.
I mean, they won't be lies because I don't make declarations. Because, like I said before, I'm not the one that needs to claim that I'm a blood descendant from somebody that I need to have a belief system. I don't think that's how it works for me. So I will I will show probabilities for sure.
No, you won't show. Listen, you don't know how to. If I asked you to explain the Bayesian formula right now, you wouldn't know how. You don't know how to assess the historical probability at all. So you're not going to show me probability.
Okay, Leandre.
You don't even know how to do it on some nigga shit to be like, man, it seems most likely, because you don't know the counterfactuals. You don't actually know how to assess a source. You want to talk about oral history. You don't even know how to establish something is an oral history. There's no way that, listen, if you put together a presentation, anybody takes you seriously, you tell them I'm going to slap them to sleep. Put together a presentation. Anybody who sits and listens and thinks that you've put together something, right? When you try to come present to me oral history and you don't even know how to check, how do I even know that this is an oral history? You have no way of even giving me that. How are you ever going to put together anything and talk about the probability of something?
That's crazy that in a sense, not only are you calling me ignorant. You're saying I'm so stupid I don't even know how to use AI. That's terrible, bro.
No. What I'm trying, no. See,
that's terrible.
No. But now, but you just exposed.
No, that's exactly what you're saying.
No. Let me clarify for you. You are so stupid that you think AI, that's what the fuck AI does. AI, the AI, and I just went through. Listen,
you're saying I couldn't ask AI any of the questions that you just proposed that I don't know how to do.
Right. I'm saying that you can certainly sit down and type those questions to AI. I'm saying that you are retarded if you think that is what AI can do. AI doesn't know shit. AI, most of the AI shit that you're going to encounter is going to be a language model. It works the same way. It uses the same technology. It's around the same technology that your predictive text work when you used to have a fucking flip phone. It predicts what was supposed to come next. The part of which that's largely different in the AI models and shit like that right now is that they actually want to make you happy. They want to give you the answer that they think is going to be satisfactory to you. But you're asking questions to something that does not actually understand anything. You can confuse ChatGPT right now, right? Especially most of the free versions by asking it how many R's are in the word strawberry. It doesn't actually know shit. And so you thinking that you're going to go sit and ask a question to AI and it's going to crank out some shit that's going to be valid. That is crazy. When at the bottom of the fucking AI page, it's going to tell you that it says all sorts of shit that is wrong. People have asked AI questions about the Council of Nicaea, and it's going to tell you that.
You think I'm so stupid that I don't even know what you're saying. And
I'm saying that you're
just fucking rambling.
I'm saying that you're stupid enough that to think that you can ask
AI. I know what you're saying. I just told you that.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't understand, and people will tell you that you didn't understand. You think I'm so stupid I can't ask AI.
That's just you, though, Leandro. You think a lot of people are stupid.
No. I do think a lot of people are stupid. I know a lot of people are stupid. The data
but as
says
smart as you are, you shouldn't have to think people are stupid.
You're a goddamn lie.
To understand.
You're a goddamn lie. If I'm smart, why the hell would not? Like, look, Eman, the stuff. Listen,
Eman, sit there and be smart.
Listen what I'm telling you. No, Eman, a dumb nigga can't tell me how to be me. Do I come to your job to tell you? Do I come to your job slapping dicks out your head? You don't tell me how to do my fucking job. Listen, here's what I'm telling you. I'm never gonna sit down and ask AI any of that shit because I know it doesn't know anything. I was legit just talking to Courtney about an IT philosopher, an MIT philosopher, who pointed out and cost lots of people all sorts of grants for AI because he pointed out its limitations. AI is not the sort of shit that people think it is. You can sit and ask AI all sorts of shit. AI gets shit wrong. AI gets shit wrong all the fucking time because it doesn't actually know shit. It is a glorified Google search that puts shit together in sentence form. That's what it does. If you want to use AI for stuff, you want to use it for fast computation. It's a big ass calculator.
It's a token word algorithm.
Yeah, so it's a whole fucking thing. So, but AI does not do the shit that people think it does. The fact that you said you think I'm so dumb, I can't use AI, motherfucker. Now I think worse of you. Shit, quiet as it kept. I think less you than I did 5 minutes ago. For even making the appeal. Every time a nigga jumps in AI shit, I think less of them.
Simple shit out there, like I wouldn't know the formula to use to prove.
Okay, cool. Explain the Bayesian formula for me. Go ahead, tell me.
I can't explain it, but
okay.
I know how to figure out the formula. That's what I said, Leandro.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Bullshit. Turn your camera on right now. Get out a piece of paper. Get out a piece of paper. I'm gonna give you something to work out.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, Leandro.
I know you wouldn't. You would never do it. There's too many people watching.
That's why I said I would use AI to figure out the formula that I should use, not to just throw shit in AI.
Even if you pulled out the formula that you should use, even if you pull out the formula you should use, if I ask you to work it out, if I ask you, listen, this is what I'm saying. You AI niggas.
That's what I'm saying. You're just insulting, Leandro. You're not even understanding what I'm saying about using AI for.
No, listen. You won't have the formula figured out. If I ask you one question about it, it's gonna fall apart. And here's what I'm pointing out to you. History is an actual specialty. History is a 20th century. It's a 20th century invention. It's a practice, a way of doing something. It is a specialization. People specialize in history. History is a professional. To be a historian, that is a professional category. It's like saying that a motherfucker is a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse. Okay, and so no, I do not think that you're going to sit down and put together some history presentation. I'm sorry, I don't. I do not think you're going to be able to do that any more than I think that you're going to sit together and put together a fucking appeal. I think you're going to do that either.
I told you that.
I don't think sheriffs are illegal.
Before you just told me this verbatim, I told you that about 5 minutes ago. I get it.
So I can put together presentation evidence. I just asked you when you told me that you told me you had evidence. The one question I asked you, I said, "Are you going to know how to examine an oral history?" There's a whole course you take on oral history. You're going to know how to examine an oral history. You're going to know how to do that? No, you're not. I asked you, okay, cool. How can I even tell this oral history? Just if I pass it to my son, does that count? Does that qualify? You correctly answered, no, it's not cool. So then how would I establish that it's an oral history? I see it pop up multiple places. I gave an example of hadith. I know that these must have been oral traditions circulated about the Prophet because there's so many different fucking variations of them. The differences tell me that it must have circulated early. If I look at the gospel accounts, it's the same fucking thing. I say, hey, these clearly circulated as oral history, stuff like that before. There's these subtle differences and nuances, stuff like that appear here. I can see, okay, cool. This thing clearly passed on. It must have circulated far and wide. It appeared in different regions. There's different levels of access to the Greek language and stuff like that here. So I know that this must circulate this way. We do the same thing. We're looking at Egyptian hieroglyphs. I can tell that this thing circulated as an oral history prior to, and that it underwent changes. I can look at that and do so. So don't tell me there's these oral histories about this shit, because then I'm going to ask you the same fucking question I would if I was asking about a hieroglyph. And it fell apart, man. I mean, come on, you got to stop. I don't come to your job slapping dicks out your hand, bro. I don't do it. Why you want to do this?
Yeah. I'm not even sure what that statement means, but like I said, I'll definitely be able to put a presentation together.
I have no problem. I have no problem
Evidences that I'm referring to, and
whether it's evidence,
yeah, I'll be able to show probability.
Whether it's evidence, you have no idea. You wouldn't know if it's evidence. You don't know if it's evidence.
Where certain evidences lack.
You don't know if it's evidence.
Considered mainstream.
It's certainly evidence of something, but you don't know if it's evidence. You don't know if it's evidence that supports your conclusion because you don't know how to verify it. You don't know how to vet a historical source. You have no idea. Vetting a historical source, right, is something that specialists do. It's the reason why most of the people, when they're getting a history, you get a history book written by a specialist. The specialist has already gone through and worked out what they believe is the most probable thing. And so when you're going to go try to tell me that you're going to go examine a bunch of primary sources, shit like that, right, without knowing any of the counterfactuals, any of the shit that would be bullshit that's in the source, how to examine a particular genre of literature, what are the tools for examining a particular genre of literature? These are things right now that I'm saying like, that's actually a good point. I should write that down when I do my presentation to fucking check. You have no idea prior to me fucking saying, you don't know how to examine a fucking source for anything. It's not your thing. It's not what you do. And that's okay. It's okay that you don't. Not everybody does it. History is a specialization. Okay, I don't expect everybody to know how to go in and work whatever the fucking machines they use in a fucking bio lab. That's fine. But this is a specialization. So I examine the sources tell us, and if hey, let me ask you a question about the sources. Cool. What language was that written in? Was that language even present? Okay, cool. So let's see. So he says this over here. Is that congruent here? Okay, but these four other sources here, they say this. Okay, so how did you ascertain that this one was going to be the valid one? Cool. Well, what did the Akkadians have to say about that particular issue? So example. So if I ask Courtney, hey Courtney, if we're examining the history of the Exodus, right? And then I ask Courtney, I say, cool. Are there contemporary accounts of the Exodus event? He says, yes, actually. There's all sorts of other specialists who note that there are parallels talking about the Hebrew people coming out of Egypt. Oh, you say, so wait a second. So I can corroborate this. With, and then I'm going to list what the fuck I can corroborate it with. You don't know how to do any of that. Like the reason when you walk into a college that the person's a PhD up there teaching history is not just because he sat down and put together fucking PowerPoint. It's because you actually go through and vetting like a source say, that's actually crazy. So I'm doing Civil War history, for example, right? Which is the thing. People do Civil War history. And I'm reading a letter of a soldier. And the soldier is telling me that, he's writing a letter to his wife. And he charged into battle. And he mowed down 47 people in the trenches around fucking Chesapeake. Do you know what sort of things that I should be checking to make sure that he's telling the truth? Do you know what I should check in on? Do you know? How important is the genre? What he said. You have no idea. This is a specialization. I'm 100% for it. Listen, man, sit down, read your history book. Let a specialist have written a history book. You sit down and read the history book. I'm all for reading. But don't get to talk like you finna just be able to pick up and handle some primary sources. Let's not do that. Let's not. There's oral. We can examine oral history. How would you examine oral history? Explain it to me. You have no idea. What's the criteria for oral history? You don't know. You have no idea. Let's stop. Let's stop this. You want a history of Hebrew sources that are going to be fair.
You drug that shit where you wanted it to go. That's cool.
That's
But
fine.
I will put I will compile the information that I'm talking about for the reason that I said.
Yep, you put it together. I'll respond to it in a presentation. You go ahead. It's going to start out the same exact way. I'm telling you ahead of time. I'm going to start this presentation the same way that I started out my goddamn debate with Ruben. But I will respond. I promise you. You make your presentation, I will respond.
That's how I missed a lot of what you said. I was really thinking about what I was going to name it.
You said what?
I said that's how I missed a lot of what you was just saying. I was trying to figure out what I was going to name it. You was asking me questions and I wasn't really hearing what you were saying. Because I've been saying this for a while because it's a lot of information that I would be compiling and conflating. I'm not making declarative statements and needing to prove anything. I say it's just a lot of information that needs to be put in one place for, certain people that share an understanding.
That is terrible. If I ever get the chance, I'm gonna take away your right to use the internet. Like if I become president, like if I get his ear, I'm gonna make sure that we block niggas like you from getting online. I want you to know I am.
The world would be a much better place if I wasn't on the internet.
I swear to God. And if we can just roll out some eugenics shortly after that, oh my God, I could just imagine